afternoon, Facebook family and our Instagram family. Thank you for tuning in to our Facebook Live discussion. Today we have with us Isosa. She is a nutritionist, and we have Dr. Mustapha will be coming in to join us in a second. She is a periodontist here at the DC Dentist. As we said earlier, we're going to be discussing heart health and its connection to your overall oral health. Thank you again for tuning in. Please tune in, ask questions, comments. All right, enjoy.
Thanks, Dr. Jackson. I'm Dr. Mustapha. I'm a periodontist.
Hi, and I'm Associate E. I'm a certified nutrition specialist.
And today we're going to talk about how oral health is related to heart disease. So first, let's backtrack and say, what do we mean about oral health? Mostly when we talk about how heart disease is related to what's going on in your mouth, we're talking about gum disease or periodontal disease. So you might have heard in toothpaste commercials, gingivitis. And
so is periodontal disease literally like, is it gum disease? Is that what it is?
It's more advanced gum disease than gingivitis. So gingivitis is the start. If you've got plaque, which is germs, debris, toxins, stuff that shouldn't be there, they are at the gum line. So that's what gingivitis is. And if you leave it there, it actually starts to migrate below the gum line.
Okay.
And that's the first stages of early periodontitis or early gum disease.
So periodontal disease is like mayday, this is a serious problem now, basically.
It can get to the point, if it's left untreated,
okay,
that literally your teeth can get loose and fall out. That's worst case scenario.
Oh wow, okay.
But if we catch things early, and then we're going to talk about that, is how to know if you do have those stages of gum disease, of gingivitis, or maybe periodontitis. So heart disease and periodontal disease are like the silent killer. Doesn't hurt. Just like high blood pressure.
Mm-hmm.
You may not even know you have it, but you're walking around. The adage of, well, I feel fine, doesn't work for either disease. For inflammation or gum disease or periodontal disease or gingivitis, we look for other signs like bleeding gums. So if you're brushing or if you're flossing and you rinse and you spit and you see blood in the sink, that can be one of the first signs that you've got something going on around your teeth and gums. So that's one of the first signs of inflammation around your teeth and gums. This other things, we really need the dentist to help us see what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
One, I have a measuring stick with millimeter markings, and in healthy teeth and gums, I should be able to go no deeper than 3 millimeters under the gum line. Doesn't hurt, but when I'm measuring, that tells me how deep the plaque or the germs have migrated under the gum line.
Okay.
So there's always going to be areas that you miss, can't reach, but if there's areas that are just building and progressing and advancing, then my measuring stick is going to go deeper than 3 millimeters. And how deep it goes tells me how advanced that gum disease is.
Got you. And is it reversible? Or not really? Do you get to a certain place where
in early stages it is reversible. So before we have BOMAS, if we just have the gums around it are angry and they move away from the tooth, we can clean things up and the gums get happy and reattach to the tooth. But if it's been there for a long time, or if it's very advanced, lots of buildup, lots of germs, or if you have a weakened immune system, your body just isn't responding to what's there and able to fight that stress, then we can start to see on the x-rays, we can start to see bone loss. And in those cases, sometimes we need to regenerate bone with surgery. If it's so far advanced, we talked about tooth loss. Sometimes we need to take the tooth out, let it heal, let the inflammation resolve, and talk about how to replace that tooth possibly with an implant.
Oh wow. Okay, gotcha.
So, so we talked about gum disease, gingivitis. How does that relate to heart disease?
Yeah. Well, how does it end up becoming a problem now for my heart? Basically?
So it really boils down to the inflammation that the germs start this cascade of events. So the germs that are there, it's not that the germs are going into your heart and causing heart disease. It's the body's response to those germs. So if your body's response to inflammation. So what's going on around the teeth and gums doesn't stay in isolation around the teeth and gums.
Okay.
So if you're fighting germs, bacteria, or infection in your mouth, that inflammatory cascade of events is coursing through your whole body. That same initial cascade of germs, inflammation, response to stress, causing deep measurements, bone loss around your teeth, is the same initial sequence of events that starts the hardening and narrowing of the arteries.
Oh wow. Okay.
And that same sequence of events also cascades off to offshoots of other processes, which we won't talk about today, but diabetes,
Yes.
even cancer.
Yes, all of those are related.
So you hear the old adage, and you're going to talk about this, how stress can kill you.
Yes, for sure.
Gum disease, heart disease are stresses, and they all initially start off the same way.
Yes.
So that's how they're related. So it's the response to the germs in your mouth that mount that initial start of gum disease, and the same sequence of inflammation starts the initial response of hardening and narrowing of the arteries.
Gotcha.
So you've heard about atherosclerosis, which is the hardening
of the arteries.
Yeah. There are other kinds of heart disease that are not related, such as aneurysm and stroke. So we'll leave those out of this discussion because that's not what's associated with what we're talking about. It's really the atherosclerosis, or narrowing of the arteries, which, how do we know we have heart disease? One of the first signs, as it being a silent killer, is high blood pressure. So again, you can walk around saying, I feel fine. What do you mean? I can't have heart disease, nothing hurts, I feel, happy, healthy. But, you take someone's blood pressure, and sometimes it can be creeping up slowly, or sometimes it's through the roof.
So from a dental perspective, obviously, if we prevent gum disease and we prevent periodontal disease, we're also helping our heart health. So what are the things that we need to do day to day to prevent that?
So definitely the key to prevention for oral health is brushing and flossing at home. So how often do you need to do that? We know from research you need to brush as often as you can, usually after meals. Flossing, all you need to do, research-wise, we know that if you floss once every 24 hours, that's enough to get off. And what we're doing is we're mechanically and physically removing the bacteria.
Right.
So that's what the brushing and flossing does. So if you remove that, it can't hang around the gum line, it can't creep below the gum line, it can't secrete toxins that go even deeper into the bloodstream, and then that's how you prevent that risk of increasing heart disease. So that's one thing. The second, which I want you to talk about, is lifestyle choices and prevention of stressors for the systemic health, because they both are really interconnected. So if you help one, you help the other.
Totally. So when you're talking about prevention of any sort of chronic disease, but also with heart disease, we have to, when we're talking about stress, we have to know that when the body is in fight or flight mode or sympathetic mode, it can't heal. And so we need to get our bodies into parasympathetic mode, and that's the place, that's the rest and relax, rejuvenate mode. And most of us are constantly in sympathetic for various reasons. We're stressed out for our jobs, we drink a lot of coffee, we get cut off in traffic, etc. So for me, working with clients, I'm always trying to figure out what kinds of mindfulness activities they can add to their day-to-day life. And so for some people, it may be meditation, for some people it's prayer, for some people it's yoga. Exercise in itself can be really great and helpful. Some people don't do as well with really high intensity exercises because that actually pushes them more into that fight or flight, like they're just adrenaline pumping. So you might need to do something more like yoga or Tai Chi or gentle walking in nature. Actually, nature bathing has been shown to like help with stress levels. But these are all things that you need to do every single day. You need to find something to do every single day. Even if it's in the morning, you're meditating for 5 minutes, etc. Research has shown that all of these things reduce your stress greatly. And as we're reducing our stress, we're keeping the body in the zone that it can actually start to heal and rejuvenate. So that's really important. The other thing in tandem with that is sleep, which a lot of people don't value sleep. But sleep is so important for restoration, and literally one night of sleep deprivation can make you as insulin resistant as a type 2 diabetic. And so that's really important for us to get sleep, to keep the blood pressure down, etc. Water for the blood pressure. You're talking about blood pressure is one of the first things that leads to heart disease. I have a lot of hypertensive patients who literally have high blood pressure just because they're dehydrated. And they're like, you changed my life. And I'm like, no, I just told you to drink water. And so you can drink half your body weight in fluid ounces of water. If you're in a hot environment or like it's summer, then you can drink a little bit more. If you're exercising, you can drink a little bit more, but at least half your body weight in fluid ounces. And then when it comes to diet, we want, in order to be heart healthy, we want to eat an anti-inflammatory diet. So one of the most researched diets for longevity and also for heart health is actually the Mediterranean diet, and that's because it's basically legumes, whole grains, fruits, vegetables, a lot of healthy fats, so olive oil, avocados, etc. And then they include some animal products, some like fish, and it's never going to be more on the red meat side. And one of the reasons why there's been a lot of research about plant-based diets and also about how heavy meat diets, especially red meat, can lead to heart disease. So there was a guy named Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn, and in the 90s, he did the longest cardiac research study on heart disease, where he followed people over a period of time. He put them on a vegetarian diet. And of the 89% of people who stuck to it, only 99.4% ever had any more cardiac events. That's like basically 100% just from going on a vegetarian diet. He's also the guy that's basically responsible for Bill Clinton being alive right now and kicking. So there's that's plant-based. When it comes to the red meat, they've done research and found that a substance, it's an essential amino acid called L-carnitine. So it's basically a protein. The body also makes it, but we get it from our diet. And mostly it's highest in red meat. So L-carnitine and choline, both are high. Choline's high in eggs. It's also high in red meats. Both of them, basically, when we ingest them, our gut bacteria feeds on it and creates a substance called TMAO. And all you need to know is that TMAO is not good for your life, because basically what it does is it accelerates the absorption of cholesterol by our tissues. So it starts that whole inflammatory process and the whole atherosclerosis process of our cholesterol, the bad cholesterol, accumulating. So it's really, really important. And they did a study where they had, even within an hour of eating a steak, people's TMAO levels went straight up. And they did it on vegans, and it did not have the same effect, because plant eaters can't make that TMAO. They don't have the ingredients to make it. So it only comes from eating a really heavy red meat diet. They also found that when people switched from red meat to more of like white meat, more poultry, etc., there was also a difference there. So that's a really important thing to know, because if you're eating heavy red meat every single day of the week, you're setting yourself up for, potentially getting these kinds of issues, especially when it comes to heart disease.
So Is it ever too late? Can someone reverse some of the steps with
Yes.
lifestyle and diet?
Yes, and that was the cool part about Caldwell-Esselstyn, because these were all people who had already had cardiac events. He put them on a vegetarian diet, and literally years and years later, decades later, they did not have any more cardiac events. Mm-hmm. So the amazing part is that the body can reverse this, but we have to give it the fuel, we have to do the lifestyle things, we have to set up the environment for it to heal. So we can't be stressed out, we can't be eating the wrong things, we need to sleep, we need to hydrate. It's like the whole package has to happen.
Yeah, I think I also know that patients that come to see me are stressed to go to the dental office.
Yes, no, I have literally panic attacks when this is the only office, I will say, Dr. Terry, this is the only dental office I have not had a panic attack in, because I was poisoned by a dentist and got mercury poisoning, and then it caused basically any health issues that I've had up until this point. So every single time I walk into a dentist's office, I am panicked and have anxiety.
So some of the things that we do in this office to help reduce, because it sounds like you've been here, is we do stress reduction techniques. We do lavender. We also have pre-surgically, we might give them some pills, I think it's some acacia and rhodiola that he has to prevent the perception of pain. And we also are very patient, and we explain things, and we really take our time so that we can reduce stress when we're doing something that a lot of people come in worked up about even having to see us to begin with.
Right.
I think there's been a lot of talk about leaky gut and inflammation. Do you know anything about that you can share with us?
Leaky gut, I mean,
do you recommend less gluten, or?
If I'm seeing someone who has leaky gut, the first thing I'm going to do is try to figure out why it happened. What happens with gluten and why it's the first thing that people take out when people have leaky gut is because it actually can create those gaps in our gut. It's because it's like a foreign substance. So I'd be trying to figure out, why did this happen in the first place, and I would remove anything that might be adding to that issue. So any sort of food allergy, gluten for sure would be the first thing to go. But when it comes to our gut is so interesting and complex. I mean, for me, I've been really fascinated with the gut-brain connection, because I have a lot of clients with depression who also have digestive issues and gut issues, and you can see the connection between there. So if we take care of our gut, our skin's going to be better, our mood's going to be better, and then we're also going to be less susceptible to a host of diseases. But I feel like most of us don't give ourselves the fuel that we need to actually create the gut environment. So everyone talks about probiotics. Not a lot of people talk about, first of all, eating the right food. And then also prebiotics. There are prebiotic foods like asparagus, onions, leeks, even oatmeal is technically prebiotic. But things that feed good bacteria and give it what it needs to thrive. Then we need to, of course, the probiotic can be helpful, but if you're at a really late stage and you have really bad candida, parasites, or just imbalance, you have to kind of like clean house and reintroduce these good bacteria. And I think most of us are suffering from gut problems because we just given antibiotics all the time. omega-3 fatty acid. And for some people, if they're vegan, it's going to be algae-based. If you're a meat eater, you can do a fish oil, or even cod liver oil is really great because it has vitamin A and D in it. And then a probiotic. That's like it for baseline. But then there are people who come and they have very specific problems and issues, or their blood work shows me that I'm looking at their blood work and they're vitamin D deficient or they're vitamin B12 deficient. So we may have to then balance them out over time, where we're giving taking extra vitamin C is never a bad thing, but I would do it in whole food form.
Yeah, in fact, some of the mega doses for that we know are beneficial for heart disease. If you start taking mega doses, it can actually throw you into the other spectrum, where you're at a higher risk of cardiovascular disease and stress.
Yeah.
So it seems to me the winning combination is whole foods and a nourishing diet.
For sure. That's true.
Implants, dental implants, are what we use to replace missing teeth. So it's a fixture that looks kind of like a screw, sometimes maybe about 1 inch long, that goes where the root used to be, and the bone heals around that, grabs onto that implant, and then a crown is seated on top of that implant fixture. So the concern with one of our patients is she wanted to know the difference between a ceramic implant, or zirconium, same thing for ceramic, cinnamon, versus a metal. Ceramic or zirconium implants available. We use those in certain situations where someone has a metal allergy. Certainly if you come in and you've talked about how you have a metal allergy to a gold watch or cheap earrings, that's one of the signs that you could have an allergy, and you would be a candidate for a ceramic or zirconium orthopedic joint replacement.
Okay.
So it's not a new material, not a new combination of alloys or mixture of metals. But what they found was the teeth and jaws, because they, for orthopedic joint replacement, were testing it in jaw bone, and they found that the bone really loves it. And they've done toxicity testing and allergy testing, and it seems to be extremely compatible, unlike other joint replacement materials where you've heard in parts of the body your body's rejecting it, you get
Right.
lots of your body walls it off. And surgery is less.
Right.
So we can start to see issues in patients that have smoking, diabetes, if you're immunocompromised in some way. So in those cases, you would be a candidate for either type of implant.
Okay. Real quick, will you tell, just for the people who are watching from my page, will you tell them what the difference is between a holistic dentist and a regular dentist? Just because I don't think people have ever heard that before.
So holistic dentistry is something that it's not a new way of looking things. It's not a new procedure, but it's really looking at overall wellness. So we started off talking about how inflammation doesn't exist solely around your teeth and gums.
Right.
And so we can't expect the health to really just focus, as you would with conventional dentistry, on just this filling or this procedure. It's a more integrative approach where you're looking at the overall wellness influencing. It's a two-way street. What's going on in your mouth is influencing your body, and what's going on in your body is influencing your mouth. It's not, like I say, the procedures and techniques that we have are not new procedures and techniques. Some of these treatments or adjuncts that we use have been used for centuries.
Black seed oil. So how would you use black seed oil in your mouth?
So there are some products that are already in that
Oh, wow,
you
okay.
can find them on Amazon, and I know Dr. Victor's working on a toothpaste combination that may include that.
Okay, cool.
But it's been used for centuries, and in conventional body connection. So
Okay. I think we've talked a lot, right?
Right.
I think we got some good things in. Do you ask questions or not really? Do you guys ever do?
She can review what we say.
Sure. So just a short recap.
maybe.
Short recap of what we just talked about, I guess. We want to prevent
To a stable state where we can maintain things. And then, depending on how advanced your periodontal or gum disease is, really depends on how often you need to see us. Some people don't pick up a toothbrush ever and never have a problem, and some people do, as you know, they're religious about flossing after each meal, which we said once every 24 hours, or their body's ability to fight germs. One of the things that we offer during the dental cleanings, if you don't have any disease or if you're in the maintenance phase, is ozone therapy. So
I've heard of this, but I actually don't know what it is.
So if you remember back to maybe a microbiology class, you know that some bacteria don't do well in an oxygen-rich environment.
Ah, okay.
And so in later terms, they sort of self-combust.
Yes.
So if you have ozone therapy, get that email